Hey everybody, welcome to another Full Empire Promotions live event. As usual, I'm Dominic. I'll be your host for this Q&A with Robert Brian Wilson. We're live via Full Empire Promotions on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching us live. If you're watching along and you'd like to ask Robert any questions, please feel free to do so, and we'll bring those on screen and address them if time allows. If you'd like your own personal conversation with Robert, following this Q&A, he'll be doing one-on-one video meet and greets over on Zoom. You can have 5 minutes to chat with Robert about whatever you'd like, and we'll even send you a recording of your meeting. In addition, you can get personally signed photographs, as well as this really cool 11 by 17 limited edition print. Got some of the victims on there. Looks really cool. There were only 25 of these printed, and they were designed exclusively for this event by my friend Gabe at Homemade Horror. I'm going to bring up his link right there, facebook.com/homemade horror. He does really cool things. If you're a fan of the horror genre, I'd highly recommend going to check out his Facebook site. All sales will end around 8 p.m. today. So if you're interested in a Zoom link or an autograph, head on over to fullempirepromotions.com and get those sales in, and we'll take care of them. Well, I think that's it for me. I'm going to roll a clip, and then we'll bring on Robert. You know him as the star of the quintessential Christmas horror film Silent Night, Deadly Night, or maybe from some of his TV work, including Santa Barbara, Dynasty, and Knots Landing. He can be seen most recently in small but memorable roles in 2 David Dakota films, A Husband for Christmas and The Wrong Roommate. I'm thrilled to welcome my good friend and client, Robert Brian Wilson. Hey,
Hey,
Robert.
all right, Dominic. Thank you. That was cool. That was a great introduction, and also I like that little piece there to start it up. That was yeah, that was very memorable.
Yeah, just to bring back some of the holiday cheer.
Yeah,
I mean, if they're
yeah,
watching this,
right.
obviously they're
Yeah,
a fan. Yeah. So, how have you been in your neck of the woods?
very good. Yeah,
Good.
everything's very good. Can't complain. Everything's fine, Dominic.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool. Yeah, we're back into the swing of cons. We had
yes.
some really good ones this year, and definitely some coming up next year. So, I'd urge everybody to follow Robert on his Instagram. Right underneath him there, the real Robert Brian Wilson. He's been doing some activity on there, and you'll find out about all his appearances if you go to there, or the Full Empire Promotions one as well. So, I understand you grew up in California. Were you a fan of TV and movies growing up?
Yes, grew up in Southern California. That's correct, and a fan of TV and movies. Dominic. I probably on the scale of 1 to 10, I was probably down at the low end. I was so busy as a kid with so many other things. My family, we were very involved in athletics and whatnot. So TV was always kind of secondary. It was after the homework was done and maybe a show or two to kind of close out the night. Certainly cartoons on weekends. That was always great, but it's not like that TV or film was a priority for me to check out. It wasn't. It was just a small pastime.
Right, right. Well, I understand you didn't really set a goal to become an actor. You were sort of plucked out and encouraged to do it by an agent.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Yes, I was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, down in Palm Springs for a spring break, and a gentleman came up to me and asked me if I was an actor then. And yeah, of course, no. I said no, and I thought the whole encounter was strange. But lo and behold, he was legit, and I found that out through he gave me a business card, and I didn't take it seriously, but my girlfriend, she's my wife, she basically said, check it out. You don't really have any really grand plans for your future. So, why don't you go see if this guy's legit and see if there's anything there for you? And lo and behold, again, he was a he was a legitimate manager, and within a short period of time, I had an agent. And in the scheme of things, in a very short period of time, relatively speaking, I was doing this film. Um, so yeah,
This was right around 83 when this happened. This was right around 1983.
right, and I met this gentleman in probably 1981, and yeah, bam, bam, bam. Here I am doing this role in this film, and yeah. So never any plans as a child that this wasn't a grand scheme. That I kept tugging on my mom's skirt, saying, "I want to be an actor." But it wasn't happening. It didn't happen. Not there. Not then.
So what do you think you would have done if you didn't never had that meeting in Palm Springs? Like any idea what you were thinking? Or was you kind of just winging it?
Well, no, I was an actor. I was in college at the time, and I was studying. Just getting my basic education in college. But my lean was kind of towards psychology. I always found I love people, and I
Mhm.
always found people very interesting, and I found all of us interesting. How we all are unique, and I thought that was something that I could sink my teeth into, and well, life happens, and so that didn't work out because I actually did take a step into Hollywood, and it took. There was a chunk there of 11 years of my life that I pursued Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah, life happens, and then I had children, and then again, life happens, and you just keep
Yeah.
doing what you need to do, I suppose, to make sense of things.
Yeah. Well, in a way, I think the urge for psychology may have helped because you ended up playing different personalities and different people. So I think, you understood personalities that's why it shows in your work.
Well, thank you. I don't really, again, yeah, it's certainly something that interests me, and then just like, just human exchange is always very interesting. That when you see me out with the fans,
Yeah.
sometimes I talk too much because I like what I mean, there's something there that, and not all the time the fans are very comfortable, and it seems like the more relaxed I am, the more I converse with them, the more they realize that I'm not Billy Chapman, I'm Bob Wilson, and I'm just a normal dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So once you did take the encouragement and pursued acting, I know you trained under Meisner, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Uh, did you find the acting training difficult,
Um,
or did it just seem to come natural?
no, it was nothing was natural. It was challenging. It was challenging, but I think difficult to answer your question. It wasn't difficult. It was just, and I don't know that how do you separate challenging and difficult? Difficult was playing football in the summer in 100-degree heat and having hell week twice a day. I mean, practice twice a day and just at your wits end. Acting is a little different than that. So it's not difficult. It's just challenging because you have to kind of have to put yourself. You just kind of have to put yourself out there. You just have to be vulnerable and willing to do that. And so it's very different than athletics. So it's just the challenge of being able to have oh
Yeah, no, I
just
understand what you're saying.
the lack of fear to just put yourself into it. And that's what Meisner was all about. And he was an incredible teacher. I mean, many people before me and after me have said it. Yeah, the list is long of the folks that studied with Sandy. that you know, basically changed our lives. You know, how we see things, how we see people, how we listen, and what we hear when we listen, and what we see in behavior. And he taught all that through his exercises.
Yeah, he was one of the best,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, amazing.
Well, you started out playing in a soap opera, Santa Barbara, and then you played a different Santa the same year in 1984. You had that Santa connection. Which one came first? Were you cast in Silent Night, Deadly Night while you were on Santa Barbara, or did that come first?
Oh, Dominic, gosh darn, I wish I would have prepared for this.
Like, do you recall your first audition?
My first audition, yeah, it wasn't one of those two. My first audition was when my manager, I didn't even have an agent, but when Dukes of Hazzard had shut down, okay, they were going to recast it. And I had never been on an acting interview in my entire life. And I got put out there, went over to Warner Brothers Studios with Melissa Scoff and did the interview. And my manager then lived over in Hollywood. In Burbank is where the Warner Brothers Studios were.
Mhm.
He told me when I finished the interview to come back and discuss it with him because he wants to know what's going on and see if he can help me in these interviews to, you know, navigate them better. Well, I did the interview, and it's kind of like a blur because it still is. It was my first time ever. I was nervous and just
Yeah.
really had no idea what to expect. Lo and behold, I got I walked into the office of my manager, and he was on the phone, and he just about fell out of his chair because it was Melissa Scoff on the phone, or her assistant. And I got a call back for the producers with my first interview in Hollywood, for the role of the blonde dude in Dukes of Hazzard.
Wow.
And so the callback, um, yeah, just completely a shit show.
So that was
You
the
know,
part that John Schneider.
I wasn't ready for any of it, to be quite honest. And so the callback, like everything came just, you know, just like a whirlwind at me, and it was just way too much for me to contemplate and then go there in front of the producers and behave as an actor would. You know, I just had no idea what I was doing, but it was quite an experience.
Yeah, you never forget. I guess you never forget the first, your first fumble.
No, exactly. No, unfortunately, those things do stand out, but you know, it's what shapes you. And it's like if that experience didn't make me walk away, uh, you know, then there was probably nothing that was going to. Truthfully,
Yeah,
I mean, really, and I never even contemplated for a moment, like, hey, man, this isn't for me. It was like, hey, you know, there's something to this. You know, I'm not very good at it, but there's something to this. I kind of dig this, you know. If I could find my way through it somehow, this might be fun.
yeah. Well, they gave you an axe and a Santa suit, and you took out your aggressions shortly after that. Do
Yeah.
you recall who you met with when you auditioned for Silent Night, Deadly Night? Was Charles Sellier Jr. in the room?
No, no, he was not. Gosh darn, now I'm going to draw a blank on that. Um, Stanzi Stokes, that was the casting director,
Yes.
and she was there with her assistant. And I want to, gosh, I'd be wrong. Anyway, her assistant, Debbie Rubenstein, I believe, was her assistant at the time. Anyway, yeah, then, and I've told this story before. Like when I walked into the interview, it was in a studio over there in off of Ventura Boulevard I think just Studio City, and I walked in, and there were a bunch of dudes that looked like me, basically, you know. And you know, you just do your typical sign in, and I signed in like everybody else, and went in and did the reading. And it was, I only had like probably 8 pages of the script at that point, so I didn't see everything, you know, only a little glimpse into it. And so Stanzi was really cool, and we went through it a couple different times in a couple different ways. She asked me to do a couple different things with it,
Hmm.
to just see if I could move within the script. And that was it, man. And then the next thing I know, I met I basically got the job. There was nothing else that I had to do. I didn't have like this master callback with, um, Lillian Chauvin or any of the other actors in the show. I basically, that was it. Stanzi said, this will work. It wasn't a big budget film, as everyone knows, so it was like, just
Yeah.
here, just throw this kid out there,
Yeah.
And
Well, I don't think any of us that love the film could imagine anyone else in the part. So,
oh, that's wild. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
cool. Thank you.
Would you say it was a challenge to be the lead in a film with very little dialogue, where you had to do acting through emotions and actions, or was that a plus?
Well, Dominic, you know, I'd like to sit here like a seasoned pro and say, yeah, that was this or that was that. I'll tell you the truth, brother. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, yeah, with regards to Hollywood and actors and the scope of the craft, if you will, I did. I look. I could have went out and been a tennis player faster than I could have been an actor. Okay, so yeah, it was all challenging, but it was so much that I didn't go like locked down in this like how gosh, I'm the lead in this thing. I have to carry this thing. I was like I didn't know. I had no idea the scope of what this all meant. It's just like just hey, you got a job and they're going to pay you X amount a day. Go do your best.
Yeah, I
I
guess, I
didn't
guess it
know.
was an example of ignorance is bliss. Not that you were ignorant, but you were ignorant not being so green. You kind
Oh,
of just did it and weren't nervous about it because you were just doing a gig.
exactly.
Yeah,
No, well put. Yeah, no, it's yeah, I ignorance is bliss. That's very well put.
yeah, yeah. What was your first experience meeting the director, Charles Sellier Jr.? Was he like an actor's director? Was he just did he kind of just go over shots with you? What was your first impression working with him?
Wow. Again, not knowing what I to have anything
Yeah,
to compare it to. I, I thought he was great. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know. I mean, basically, he told me like he was. I had the cameraman. I want to say Mr. Snelling, and he was very good about telling me, hey, like we'd set the shot. He'd come. He was a very kind man, Mr. Snelling. He'd come and say, hey, Robert, we're gonna like this is what we're getting here. So, I'm not telling you how to do anything, but if you move too much, it's gonna be this or that. So he was very good about, I mean,
right.
that's how much I didn't understand, where I was. But they were all very helpful. Mr. Sellier Jr. was very kind. He certainly understood what he wanted to capture, and that was all again beyond me. So I felt like he was on this level over here. I really didn't kind of really try to step in or get involved in his world. I mean, his world was I was just a piece of it.
Hmm.
So not like we didn't have like these sit downs and with regards to character development or anything of that nature. We discussed shots, and now that I've kind of bounced around the edges and listened to different actors and interviews and whatnot, um, bouncing around the edges is fine. And when it comes to a director, I find that there's a lot of actors out there that would prefer someone that just said, "Hey, this is the shot. Go do your thing," as opposed to getting involved in their world as an actor and saying, "I would like for you to work on this or work on that." It's like if the actor comes prepared from what I'm learning, the director, maybe can indicate a few things here and there about where the direction they want it to lean, but it's really up to the actor. So perhaps he was much, much better at this than I have any idea because he really left me alone when it came to those decisions about character.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, I noticed prior to this film he had done some documentaries, and it looked like this was kind of shot documentary style, Silent Night, Deadly Night, and it had a cinematic look, but it also had like a documentary style, look to
Right.
it as well.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that could have been his method as well.
Yeah. Well,
What, do you recall any scenes that when you read the script you thought they were too graphic, or you thought, gee, I don't know if I really want to do this?
no.
No, no.
I know that's terrible, right? I mean,
Well,
yeah, and you'd think, because of the reaction to the film, that I would look at it as just a normal, average human being and go like, yeah, this is too much. But no, I didn't. I didn't see it, and perhaps that's a part of my, mm, naivete with regards. Maybe I just wasn't. I'm not like, uh, well rounded enough, deep enough as an actor at that point in time to go like, oh shoot, this, to see the big picture, because I really didn't get my hands on the full script until probably a week or two before, you
wow.
know. And yeah, and by the way, if anybody recalls, or perhaps you recall, the name of the script was Sleigh Ride.
Yes.
Sleigh
Yeah.
Ride.
That's why they have that song that's in the soundtrack called Sleigh Ride.
Yeah, yeah. So
That
that
makes
was really
sense.
cool. I had a T-shirt for a while that, until it just got worn out and became a car washing shirt. Said Sleigh Ride and had Santa and all that stuff with an axe. It was a pretty cool shirt. Yeah,
Wow.
it was a
That'd be
pretty
worth
cool
some dough
shirt.
now, I bet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I should have just left it in the case.
Yeah. Do you recall any scenes that were physically a challenge to do where you just had your stunt guy do it?
Um,
Or
you
was
know,
that not your call?
Not that I recall. I mean, there was some stuff the only difficulties, with regards to like needing and having a stuntman involved was, I think, in Linnea Quigley's house when I put her on the antlers.
Mhm.
Um, I did, probably 90% of that, because the shots were always of me holding her. You know what I mean? But there were other scenes in there where like where the throwing of the axe and stuff, and it shows me from the back. I mean, I'm sure I could flip the axe across the room, and I tried it. I think it bounced off the wall, but he was an expert. The guy that was a stuntman that was chucking the axe, and that's the shot that you get when he sticks it in the wall. But of course, I couldn't have done that, so I guess that was challenging. But as far as anything else, lifting Linnea up, she's a petite lady,
Yeah.
so that wasn't all that difficult. But it's in that realm of, yeah, that was, as far as stunts go and stuff, that was in the house there was the most challenging stunt work. Yeah.
Yeah. And the film was shot in Utah. Was the entire film locations or did they build sets?
Oh no, we were all locations,
That's what I
all
thought.
locations. Yeah, yeah.
And everything was outside of Salt Lake City?
Yes, yes. I believe most of it was Heber, and perhaps there was some on the edges of Heber. But of course, the toy store was a legit store, and that was where a lot of the story was shot.
Mhm.
So that was essentially, a set. We had all of our set pieces and stuff out back, and that's kind of was our mainstay, if you will. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, it was cool.
What do you have any fond memories of some of the cast you worked with, like Lillian Chavon and Brett Leach and some of the other actors? Do you have any interactions that you remember that stick out?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right away, Britt Leach was just a really cool dude, really kind man. He knew that I was green. He knew all of that. But he helped me however he could. Um, he was just a really neat dude. I really liked him. We really got along well, and we only had a few days together. Maybe a week together there at the hotel. And of course, you're working all the time, so you don't get like a real sit down. But he was always a really cool dude. And then I
Yeah,
saw him at the 30-year anniversary, and he was really cool then too. So it just confirmed everything. Not that I thought it would be anything other than that, but he was just still just same as cool and as kind as ever. Real sweet. Lillian was real special to me because, of course, again, because of my greenness. Um, she literally asked me if I wanted at the hotel in Heber, if I wanted to get together and run look over the script, and we did so. And she was in the midst of it, like, because she was not only a fantastic actress, of course, and
yeah.
had quite the career. She was also an instructor in Hollywood. She was teaching her own classes in Hollywood or North Hollywood. And so when we sat down and started reading the script there in Heber, she basically asked me. She asked me what my experience was and whatnot, and she obviously could see it, that I was very green and probably not ready for the role. But she explained so much, Dominic, to me. Like talk about like a speed reading course or a speed course in what you're about to undertake, man, she helped me so much because she explained like every shot. She explained like in the direction, in the stage direction, in the script, like what that POV actually means. And I was like, oh, and I'd circle it and make notes. It was like a crash course
That's
in how
awesome.
to do a film. It was nuts, dude. And it was, in hindsight, it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened. Those like 2 or 3 sessions, 1 hour sessions in her room on at just just by happenstance. It wasn't, well, I say happenstance. She probably went like, oh shit, I need to help, but whatever. She was great and she was always very gracious, very kind,
Yeah,
extremely professional, man. She was a pro. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, she was definitely the most seasoned, actor on that set. And even though Billy was the villain, I mean, her character was intimidating. Like she could have had her own film, I think,
she
from that
she
character.
yeah, she gave great cause for
Yes.
Billy to continue to make that path back to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, when Silent Night, Deadly Night came out, it was picketed by angry parents and because of the violent nature towards a public holiday figure, and essentially pulled from theaters after 2 weeks and shelved for a year before it came back on VHS uncut. Uh, do you recall this happening, and what was going through your mind when you found out this movie was just picketed and disregarded in a way?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it was not cool. I mean, yeah, I remember it very well. Yeah, it wasn't cool. I mean, here you're in Hollywood, you do, as you mentioned, like, you have these choices in your life when you're young, and you can kind of like take a path, and you know that this path might take me here, might not, but let's pursue it. Or I could go down this one, and so yeah, you think about it and you kind of go like, well,
Did you agree with the censorships? And did you feel like, I never understood why they made such an uproar about this because A Killer Santa had already been done twice before Silent Night, Deadly Night. Tales from the Crypt did it in the 70s with Joan Collins and Peter
yeah,
Cushing, and then Christmas Evil came out a few years before. It
yeah,
weren't as violent, but I mean, it was still Santa
yeah.
in an evil way. So I never understood why this movie was targeted.
Well, there's a lot of conversation, I suppose, about that is in the world of horror, that it was because of the time that it was released. It was apparently during a Thanksgiving weekend or something
Right.
prior to Christmas, and his mom and dad and the kids sitting home watching football or whatever, and here's some crazy Santa Claus killer comes on the screen, and it's like, so perhaps that's one reason, that it was okay. They didn't spend much money on the film, but they certainly put a buck on the advertising on Saturday or Sunday for a football game. Anyway, might have been a mistake, because it got way too much attention. And then, of course, the storyline, with regards to Mother Superior and perhaps, the Catholic Church. I don't know. But yeah, Dominic, it was uncool because, well, in my eyes, it was because here you're just trying to be an actor. And trust me, you know, there's probably lots of stories out there about Hollywood that, did blah, blah, blah. I really don't know what the story is, but that, that, that the game in some ways comes very easy to some, and whatever, so here you do this film thinking, hey, this is a pretty good gig, I'm the lead in this film, and we're actually doing it, I mean, actors, that's what we all get in line to go and get a role, you know what I mean? That's what it is. Yeah, okay, so some of the finer tuned actors out there will actually read the script, look at the content, and say, "Will this be good for my career?" You know what I mean? And probably 9 out of 10 perhaps would have looked at that script and said, "Yeah, this would be good for my career." Or 9 out of 10 would have looked at it and said, "I'm not doing this shit." You know what I mean? I
Right.
don't know. I was just a young actor trying to get the job. I got the job. I did the best I could. The film got put out there. 2 weeks later, it's panned, and I look like an ass. You know what I mean? And it's like, that sucks. But life goes on. So the fact that it got pulled from theaters, the fact that it got just banned and whatnot, and got bad press from Siskel and Ebert and People Magazine and such. Did I support it? I suppose, because you just kind of have. I don't know. I don't really know. For me to go against it, I think would have caused me more harm in Hollywood than
Right.
to just roll with it. You know what I mean? Kind of agree with it. I hate to say that because, like, I mean, this was cancel culture way before things were being
Right.
canceled.
Right.
Obviously,
You were just looking to move on to the next gig.
I was just looking to move on, and I kind of put it all behind me, and that was cool. I was good with that. I got roles after Silent Night, Deadly Night. It wasn't like that killed my career completely.
Right.
Now, did certain projects not want me around because of the content of the film that I had done in the past? I don't know. Will I ever know? I don't know. Probably not. It doesn't matter. No, my life has been fantastic. So everything's cool. Everything worked out just fine. But yeah,
Right.
that was a bummer. That was a bummer then. But whatever.
Was there a premiere that you went to for the film before it came out? Do you
Yeah.
remember the premiere, who you took, what the experience was like?
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah. It was, yeah, I guess you'd call it a premiere. And it was at this, I believe it was the Screen Actors Guild on Sunset there in Hollywood. And, really nice theater and really neat kind of evening, and one that, any actor would look forward to, of course. And so with that said, I brought my mother and my father and, my girlfriend, and whoever else to come along, anybody else who wanted to come along, let's go see my film, man. I starred in the film. Let's go check this out, And then we watched it, and yeah, it was an interesting evening. My father looked at me like, "What the hell did you, boy?" and the great thing is, he said when he spoke, he spoke, his few words spoke very clearly. You know what I mean? So the
Right.
look was, he didn't have to say much. The look was everything. And here I am, like 20 years old or something, and my dad looked like me, man, boy, yeah, you're not supposed to do that to the family. Yeah, like I marked the family, I mean, like, anyway.
Well,
What he didn't know is that very few people got to see it. It got banned, 2 weeks later. He knew about that. He was like, good, he's like, damn film, you crazy kid, we gotta watch you.
and what he also didn't know is you'd become a part of horror history. That this film is, as I said in the beginning, the quintessential. This and Black Christmas are the two first things that come to horror fans' minds when you think holiday horror films. So
Yeah, pretty wild, Dominic.
yeah,
Pretty wild. Yeah, and
yeah,
going back to that time frame, when it got banned and it got pulled from the theaters. For me to think then, of course, like, well, there's still hope, this might turn into something, you know what I mean? No, I never thought about that for a second, not for 1 second. And the fact that you and I are sitting here and speaking about this is totally surreal. Nah,
yeah,
this never was a part of my vision.
yeah.
I
Well,
never saw it coming.
yeah. Well, despite the backlash and the canceling of the first film, they did do a sequel a few years later. So I think the fact that it was banned was that aspect of, the more I can't see it, the more I want it. So I think it
Right,
gave the film a notorious kind of reputation where people wanted to seek it out because they
right.
wanted to see what all the hype was and why it was banned, and I guess all that hype spawned a sequel. Did they ever call you to come back for the sequel, and would you have done it at that
Um,
time?
wow, that's a great question, Dominic. I really don't know. I don't know that I can answer it. I don't really recall exactly where I was in the framework of what was on my list right at that time when they were doing the sequel. But I
Mhm.
was stepping into some other things that maybe I would have said no after the experience with the first one.
Yeah.
They did speak to me about it. They basically said they gave me their oftentimes I think in film and in TV, if they're going to use your image, they'll just give you a one-time payout. I don't know. Probably everything's structured differently for each individual, but they offered me. They said that they were going to use my image in the second film, and they offered me a payout, and I said, yeah, okay, sounds like I don't have to show up. They don't want me in the film. They're just going to use footage from the first film. That's cool. I'll take the check. I'm starving as an actor. Thank you very much.
Right.
And so, yeah, lo and behold, I think it's, well, those who know, I think it's probably about a half hour of the first film. So it wasn't just a clip, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's life. Yeah. But no, they never asked me to be a part of it other than just using some clips from the first film.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. So how did your career go post Silent Night, Deadly Night? You went on to do some TV,
Yeah.
some the wide range of TV, having guest stars and
Right.
very big shows like Dynasty and Perfect Strangers and the Gunsmoke TV movie. What was
Sure.
your experience working on those films in contrast to the horror film?
Um, yeah.
How did you feel TV was it shot? Did you feel it was shot different than film?
Um, no, I honestly, Dominic, I've never been one to really get too real caught up in like how that what's going on outside of me.
Right.
I can't, you know what I mean? Like and I'm sure the deeper one gets into the game, that all means something. But for me at that level, and for me in my career, the scope of what it was, um, it's all the same to me. It's all the
Right.
same to me.
Right.
I have like you and I have this give and take, and that's all I can take care of. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what's going on out there with them technically for whether it's TV, soap opera, or film? Uh,
Got it.
they're the same process for me.
Got it.
Yeah.
So was Silent Night, Deadly Night, was that part referenced when you went to audition for these soaps, or was
Yeah.
it kind of just forgotten after it was pulled?
No, because on my resume, it was like one thing that I had a lead role in. It's like, so you got guest star and you got co-star and you got all these things on your resume, and then you've got this one thing down there. It's called Silent Night, Deadly Night, and you were the lead, and they're like, you did. So I don't. Again, I wasn't that. I wasn't that aware in the
Right.
moment.
You were on autopilot. You were just going for the next gig.
I was going for the next gig, and then when I walked in for an interview, I was in that script. I was in that world, and to be aware enough at that time, being that this was enough for me to take on, of how they were perceiving me with regards to Silent Night, Deadly Night. Sometimes it felt like a good thing. Sometimes it felt like a bad thing. That's all I can give you. I don't know. I think I don't think it. I don't know. I don't think it hurt me in any way. I'd love to say that. I'd love to be an actor like that. Fucking film ruined my career. It didn't. It
No.
didn't. It didn't. You know what I mean? So yeah. If they had a reaction to it being on my resume, it was only because perhaps they personally didn't like it.
Right.
As
Right.
far as Hollywood goes, big picture, it didn't matter. If I was good enough, I'd still be doing it.
Well, I think I don't know if it's that. I think it's you. I don't want to say the passion wasn't there, but I think that may have been a turn off for you after what happened with that movie, subconsciously. The whole psychology thing.
Truly, truly, yeah. Those. Yeah, after you take enough lumps, you kind of go like,
What's next?
well, what's next? And is this right? Is this going to work out, or is this going to be a continuous path of lumps, or what is it? And then I'll tell you the truth. I really wasn't that passionate about it um, until I met Sanford Meisner.
Hmm.
Yeah. When I met Sanford, see, because Sanford gave me a way of doing things. He gave me a way to really understand and work the craft and put some tools in my bag to use when I got on the set. And I never had that. So it's like a baseball player that doesn't know the fundamentals of how to pick up a grounder,
Right.
doesn't
Right.
know how to square around and lay down a bunt. I didn't have any of the fundamentals. They just said, go bunt, go field those grounders. I had no idea how to do it. Sanford gave me some ways to do it. And
Very
with
cool.
that, it created, honestly, Dominic, a passion that still lives in me today, because I understand that this thing comes from me, and Sanford allowed me to develop that. And so I never got a real experience to show that in Hollywood, because by the time I got with Sanford, and by the time I started to develop some skills as an actor, my life moved into another direction, which is when I had my first child. Like that. It was like my life became about something else.
Right.
And so with that, didn't matter what I was really getting from Sanford. Lovely, changed my life, made me a better parent, a better husband, better friend, all of that. He deepened me as a human. But as far as how it, going forward, it was basically just me wanting to just do the best by my family. So Hollywood became secondary real
Right.
fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you left acting and then came back after a 24-year hiatus with two David Dakota films. Uh, how did you get connected with David? Did he seek you out because he was a fan of Silent Deadly Night, or how did you
Right.
go about
Wow. Yeah. Good question. Because no, we kind of did we stumble upon each other? Perhaps. I mean, I got invited to the 30-year anniversary of Silent Night, Deadly Night at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. So that was 8 years ago. And it was at that time that I was then, after the movie, signing some of the albums that were newly released of all of Perry's music from the film, from the soundtrack. So I, with Scott Schneid and Dennis, the other co-producers of the film, and even Britt for a moment. Britt Leach was with us that evening, and so was Perry Bodkin. We signed autographs for a moment there after the Egyptian. And boy, I wish you were there.
I wish I was too.
You would have really been able to run that. Anyway, so it was then that I met David. David came up and said, "Hey, I'm this guy. I'm David Dakota. I do
I can make a
films.
movie in 4 days."
I make movies in 4 days. Yeah, I'm that guy." And I was like, and he's like, "If you ever, are you interested?" And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, I live right here. I mean, we're neighbors, David and I, basically. You know what I mean?" And lo and behold, I got a call, Dominic, from him, and he said, "Hey, are you up for doing this role in this Wrong Roommate, a series there, a movie of the week or something like that, right?"
Mhm.
And I said, "Well, sure." So anyway, he gave me all the script and stuff, and yeah, I took it to heart and shot a home video, because that's, I just basically was shooting a scene. My
Yeah.
son was on the other side of the camera, and I sent it back to David, and lo and behold, I got the role. Well, I'll share this little piece. I was at work doing a show in LA, and I called him and said, "Hey, because I hadn't heard from him." I was like, "What's the latest? What, have you heard anything?" He was like, "Yeah, Robert, we like you a lot. I mean, obviously you can do this, but we were hoping for someone that was a little bit more street." And I did the interview at home with my iPad, and
Mhm.
I wore like kind of semi-professional clothing. I didn't look street. I was at work. So I said, "Okay, you want more street? I got more street." You know, I went to my car, threw on a t-shirt, rolled up my sleeves, put a trucker's hat on backwards, and I think I might have like flipped off the camera, like, "Go," you know what I mean? And sent him the picture. And he called me back before my lunch period was over and said, "You got the role."
That's great. That's
Because I showed, like, he has a partner that he does it, and he basically said, "Okay, good enough. Now we know. We know you know." And I was like, "Really? That's how this is done? Cool. Okay, I'll take it." And that was a cool role, man. That was fun.
Yeah, that psychology switch in your head just snapped back on, and you knew what he wanted.
Nice. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I should have known that from the start, though. You read the script and you go, "Yeah, this guy's, he's."
Well, you were a little rusty. I mean, it was 24 years,
Yeah.
between that, so it's
Thank
not
you.
bad.
Thank you. Yeah, that was cool. No, it's good. No, David's great. And he's used me you mentioned the other one, Husband for Christmas with Vivica
Yes.
Fox. That was just a small role. I actually, Eric Freeman,
Mhm.
my brother in crime with Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, he was there as well for that. David kind of called it a reunion of the Santas.
Right.
And of course, he got a picture with the two of us because he loved both films.
Yeah.
Um, But something to add. I recently did it's a 3-part series. I don't know, unfortunately, where it's going to air just yet, but it's with David, and it's called Lucky. And I'll be in the third part of that 3-part series. And it was a fun role.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's just another, you know, David just, keeps my feet to the fire somehow. He just like, don't go too far. So I'm very thankful for David.
Yeah,
And
no,
I hope I expressed that to him. He's a good dude.
he is. I've met him a couple times. I mean, I'm a fan of his work. I think he can pump out a movie in 5 days, and it looks like it had a 20-day shoot. He
Yeah.
gets really good for his budgets. He gets really good production value, and just he's a well-oiled machine.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. It's impressive. It's impressive. I the way I see David. Like at any moment, like I mean, obviously he's doing well, but at any moment, someone else could clip him up and say, "No, we want you over in this like at Netflix doing something."
Hmm.
I'm not kidding because he he turns them out, man,
Yeah,
and the quality's it's decent.
yeah,
I mean, for you got to everything within the scope of the budget, I suppose, man, and he's killing it. He does a good job. He's a good dude.
well, and you said that was called Lucky, and you're in the third part.
Lucky.
Lucky, okay. So
Yeah.
make sure you
Yeah.
update people on that on your Instagram once you get info.
Yes, and
Yeah,
I've yet to get the specific info. So the
yeah,
moment that I do, I will certainly let you know. And yeah, very cool. It was a nice role. The role that I did with Wrong Roommate was fun. Obviously, to get tattoos and be another bad guy. That's always fun. The role of in Lucky is a little different, and it was a lot of fun as well, and perhaps even more challenging for me to do at this scope, at this point in my game, if you will. But certainly something to continue to sink my teeth into
for sure.
and re-warm up, this Hollywood thing.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's going to be other acting things coming up, but Silent Night, Deadly Night just seems to be the blood-soaked gift that keeps on giving for you.
Yeah,
That 30th anniversary signing. You and I met maybe not long after that
that's correct.
when we got connected, and you did your first year. Uh, Thoughts going into the convention? What was your favorite aspect of the convention? And obviously you enjoyed it because we've been doing them for 7 years now. But what's your favorite aspect of attending conventions?
Wow, Dominic, by far, without any question, it's the people. Without, I
Yeah,
mean, it's the people. It's yeah. I mean, if it weren't, I mean, yeah, obviously that's what it's all about. But if it was about something else, like you know, I can't even put words to it. But if it wasn't about the people and it wasn't about the people and interacting with the people and giving them the opportunity to come out and see Billy Chapman, you know what I mean? Again, it's not me. They're coming to see Billy Chapman. That's who the film represented. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of like part. I get to come along for the ride. That's how I feel about it. And so in the process, it's just the people, and I meet so many people. I meet like I don't even really understand it because like I suppose like if you're a baseball fan, right? And I'm a baseball player, and the fans are coming to meet me. I would think that it would be pretty linear as far as the group of folks that I would meet. They understand baseball, beep bop bop, and they're all kind of I don't know.
right.
I don't. I'm making assumptions, I'm making generalizations that they would all kind of look the same, sound the same, and be the same, kind of in that same common thread. Not with horror, man. With horror, I found that the range of folks that I meet is like this. I mean, this broad group of people that it's awesome, man. It's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, all walks of life, and I love it all. I love
You
it
get
all.
to hear you get to hear firsthand, why they love this film so much. And I think, you're kind of the carrier of the film because it's your film. And I think, after almost 40 years, you just keep hearing different reasons why people like this film and why it keeps getting bigger and bigger over time. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the film keeps resonating with newer generations? You personally?
Well, yeah, personally, I think it's just because of social media and because we have had so much access to things now that we didn't
Yeah.
then. I really think that such a film and such a story, because I'm hearing from 20-year-olds, you know what I mean? This film was made 18 years before they were born. And
Yeah.
they're watching this film and they're like, I love the story. I've watched every horror film out there. Sure you have. I mean, there's a lot more. Hang in there. But they say they like the story, and they like that Billy was vulnerable in the story, and they have this thing about that. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that 18 years before these people were born, this film was made, and yet it's as attractive to them as it is the people that saw it when they were 15, 16, 17 years old when it first came out. This film, I mean, I get to see all of these people. I get to see the people that watched it when it first came out, when they were 9 and they shouldn't have watched it. I get to see those folks. I'm just shaking my head going, no wonder, Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think, at its core, I think Silent Deadly Night is a character study. And I think, we watch Billy's journey, through challenges that he gets. He's traumatized. He's a traumatized man.
Yeah.
And, we're kind of following along on how he's dealing with this challenge. And, it's I think at its core, it's a character study.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into this film because it's certainly it's it's silly at its core. It's silly and yeah, and all of it's horror,
It's
and
just a fun film. I
it's
mean,
80s horror. So, I mean, take it for what it is. And I have to share with you, Dominic, I went to Quentin Tarantino's New Beverly Cinema.
You were telling me about that.
Yeah, that was really cool. So they were showing it on the 19th and 20th of last week. And so I contacted the folks there, the management, and said, hey, first of all, are you guys showing the film again this year? I contacted them early or late in November. And then early in December, the gentleman got in touch with me and said, yeah, we're showing it, And I said, oh, very cool. I said, is there any way that I could attend and basically say thanks to the audience for continuous support of the film? And he's like, oh, hell yes, that would be great, right? And so it was fantastic. It was a full house, sold out both nights, and the fans just have a great time with this film. It's just the silly stuff, and it's like when they're going to see Grandpa at the insane asylum. It's just like it's funny as hell, and people, it's like at face value, it's like, oh my gosh, poor Grandpa. He's in an insane asylum. When in the beginning of a horror film, when you're taking the youngest kid there to go see Grandpa in an insane asylum, it's probably not going to work out that well,
No,
And so
no.
the fans just think it's hilarious. And of course, the scenes with Grandpa are just like second to none in the story. Grandpa is my favorite character in the film,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
pretty
awesome.
wild. Pretty wild.
Hopefully there's footage somewhere of that, of your intro and the crowd. That'd be good to see some footage of that.
Yeah, it was fun. And there might be, perhaps being ignorant to this whole social media world, I should have recorded it, of course, right? But, not me. Anyway, all I had, I just wanted to get up there and not stumble and fall down before I got to the microphone,
Right,
So,
right.
First things first. But perhaps I'll get to do it again next year and record that and say thanks again. And I would love to do that as often as I can. I mean, it. Yeah, it's only because of them and because of them sharing what they experienced with the film to someone else that hasn't seen it before. It's because of them that this thing still has its life. They're the ones that are interacting with social media, telling a friend, "Hey, Robert came to the theater last night and said hello and thanks." It's not me, you know what I mean? So
Cool.
It's just me saying thanks, and yeah, it was very rewarding because on the second night, I did it by myself on the first night because I knew I was going to go with my wife and my 2 sons on the second night. So this is the first time I have sons that are 29 and 31. And it's the first time that they've seen it in its entirety. And of course, they got to see it with me in a live audience. And
Oh, I'm
you
sure, I'm
know,
sure it was a treat. I'm sure it was a treat for them.
I don't know. I don't know. Not much was said, you know. I mean, we all enjoyed it. We all enjoyed it. And to see it in that type of atmosphere where the fans know what's happening and know what's coming and they find humor in it instead of like what it was canceled for. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
The terror. It's not the terror. It's just stupid humor. It's just a stupid show. It's a stupid story. Let it go, but they
Right.
canceled it. Anyway, and
Yeah.
and now it's highly acceptable.
Oh, now it's, there's so much worse stuff out there that's,
Right. Right.
on Netflix that's 10 times worse than, a nun getting an axe to the head.
Right. No, anybody who's like on the edges who haven't seen this film, I doubt that anybody who's listening or watching is like the.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've seen the film, but to anybody outside of that, they probably think it's terror and it's this and it's that. It's actually hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the perfect blend, of camp and horror and Christmas and blood and, it's great.
Yes. Yeah, it
So there
really
are
is.
a few people watching. Jackson Stewart. Hey Jackson, how are you? He's a director as well. He's made some couple of good
Excuse me.
horror films with Barbara Crampton.
Oh,
Jackson says, would Robert and Eric Freeman do a Silent Deadly Night sequel together?
I can't speak for Eric. You know, of course, Jackson. Thank you. But yeah, I'll do whatever you want, man. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's
Very
do it,
cool.
man. I still have some things to say. I love my favorite parts of the film is killing. So if you got some killing scenes, man, I want to do it.
Let's do it, Jackson.
How's that?
Write it.
I'm kidding. It's all fun, Jackson. Thank you.
Yeah. Justin's watching Pizzawell, who's good friends with Eric.
Yes.
Justin, thanks for joining us, man. Glad you enjoyed the conversation. I'm trying to see if he left a question here. He's giving you
Oh,
a compliment on
oh
your
man,
acting.
yeah. Thanks.
Rob's performance is intricate, son, identity and success. You feel for Billy. It makes his death at the end resonate.
Wow. Yeah,
Very cool.
that's kind. That's
Very
very
cool.
kind. Nice to see you. Happy holidays, Pizza Well.
Yeah, they may be there to meet Billy for the first time, but after seeing how kind and cool you are, they come back to meet you. He's right. You get a lot of repeat fans that come back to, get something else, including Justin. Justin's came up to you at a couple cons.
Oh yes,
That's
yes,
fine.
yes.
So,
No, he's right. I mean, I don't want to. You know, I mean, they like the film, and I'm pleased with that. So pleased with that. And yet, I am like as I said to Dominic, I am like in a strange way building some relationships with some of these people as I continue to go out and do these cons, and now I'm interacting on. What am I? What am I?
we're on all social media right now.
All
We're on
social
YouTube,
media now.
Facebook, Twitter.
So here we are, you know. So yeah, yeah, I'm thankful for all of it, man. I'm really am, and I do enjoy the fans so much. So to meet them again is always a pleasure because we're starting to develop a funny relationship about this film. So it's all cool.
Yeah, cool. Justin, I will. We'll try. I'm sure we're going to be doing a handful of shows next year, so I'm sure we'll be back on the East Coast. Saying he wants to see you and Robert back on the East Coast. I'm sure we'll be around.
Yeah, look forward to it, man. Thank you. Thank you very much.
JD, says the new Beverly screening must have been the R-rated cut. There's a big difference between the two, in my opinion. Do you? I guess you would. Would you know the difference between the R-rated cut and the uncut?
Yeah, a little bit, Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure, JD. Anyway, hey, JD, what's happening, brother? Nice to hear from you. Yeah, I mean, the difference is, you'd have to explain them to me, JD, and I'm sure the next time we see each other, you can explain it in great detail. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, you can tell on the Blu-ray, the new Blu-ray that came out, the uncut scenes, the film's a little more grainy, because they had to splice it back in. Like the scene where you're impaling Linnea is longer, and in the uncut, you can actually see the blood and stuff come out of her. As far as the uncut version, you see the antlers go through, and then that's where it cuts.
Oh,
So
okay.
a couple different scenes where you can tell the film gets a little darker and grainier because they had to splice it
Oh,
back
okay.
in. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not sure, JD. Are you saying that my sons should see the other one,
The Blu-ray that's out.
the
You know, the
Blu-ray?
from
Okay.
Screen
Much
Factory.
much cleaner, huh? Much
Yes.
better.
Yeah, and it's
Oh,
full,
very well.
uncut. So
Okay.
but
Fantastic. Well, Yeah,
But it's still cool that they got to see it on the big screen, even if it was the R-rated. I mean, that's really cool. I've never
yeah,
seen it on the big screen, so what?
yeah. It was cool. It was cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Holly saying hello. Thanks for watching, Holly. Good to see you.
Right on. Hi, Holly.
And
Hi,
it
Tom.
looks like I don't see any other comments, so I guess we will wrap this up. But I do
Great.
want to ask a final question that I ask all my clients that I do this with. Probably
Yeah.
going to throw you a little curveball. Uh, so if you could pick your dream project where you could be directed by any director alive and act and star in a film with any actor as your co-star, who would you pick to direct the film, and who would you pick to star with you?
Wow.
Doesn't have to be like any particular genre, just any any actor that you really like that you think you gel with, and any director that you like.
Wow. Um, the director that I want to work with is the next one that offers me the job.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, that's the first that's the first one that I want to work with. And as far as the next actor that I want to work with, that's any human that wants to have an honest interaction with me on film. I'm wide open. That's who I
Wow,
want to work with.
wow, great answers.
Yeah,
Great
thank you.
answers.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, wow, awesome. I'm hoping that that next director is going to be Mike Flanagan.
Well, that'd be terrific. You know, Mike is extremely talented. Let alone the fact that he's very busy.
Yeah.
Obviously, for all the right reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I share something real quick?
Yeah. Go for it.
So, real quick, I met Mike, of course, at CT Con when he took me to Connecticut, Dominic. And again, okay, for 30 years, my life has been away from Hollywood, taking care of my family. I have not been focused on Hollywood. I've been focused on my family. You and I did some cons. You talk about movie, you talk about film, and I'm sitting at the table having dinner or a drink with you, and you're like talking with a deer in the headlights, man. Mike Flanagan, I met him at CT Con, and I'm me as a person now. I'm not in the beginning real forward because I don't want to put anything on anybody that they're not comfortable with. So I just kind of minded my own business. And then after I left CT Con, meeting Mike and the group, that he had there, of course,
Mhm.
um, I was compelled to find out who this dude was, right? And so, silly, naive Robert to Hollywood, I looked into it and went, oh my Lord, how could I be so, what perhaps looks so like standoffish and removed to this man who is so talented, so extremely talented. And I was like, so I had to go up to him at the next show that you had us in Pasadena, where I ran into him again. And I had to tell him that I was embarrassed, that I didn't behave with the knowledge of who he is and what he's doing at the CT Con. And he's like, what are you talking about, man? I was like, he goes, kind of like, basically, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, the fact that you just respected your space and respected mine was pretty good. So you don't have anything to apologize for. So no, he's a great dude, man.
He
Really
is.
a pleasure meeting them. And it's all a part of this process that you've got me involved in, that this
Yeah.
is happening. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. I mean, he's just a regular dude who happens to be amazingly talented and has a great vision, and he's a big fan. He's a big fan of the genre, and he's bringing a lot of those actors into his stuff. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I
You know,
love his writing. His writing is like, I mean, I'm sure it's well talked about and
Yeah.
well publicized, but I just find when I watch his shows now that I see his writing, and I see folks like Henry Thomas and these folks picking it up and running with it, and it's like, wow, this is such good stuff, Mike. Wonderful job. Yeah. So yeah, I was real naive about who he was because I'm just ignorant to Hollywood, but I'm waking up.
Very cool. Well, we will look for updates on Lucky and whatever else we have coming up on your Instagram there, and on I'll share them on the Full Empire Instagram as well, and we'll keep it rolling. So,
Fantastic.
as always, it's been great chatting with you, Robert, and it was very cool getting to know a little more about you, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, Dominic, thank you so much for all you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, it's a true pleasure, and I'll hang out with you anytime, brother. Anytime.
Awesome, awesome.
Good.
Any closing comments?
Just thanks for anybody who hung in there and watched and wanted to check this out
Okay.
and share this experience. Thank you for hanging out, and tell a friend about the movie if you haven't, because I think about 3 out of 5 kind of enjoy it. So just risk those other two.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, thanks so much, everybody who joined us. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to talk to Robert personally, you can head on over to FullEmpirePromotions.com and book a Zoom session. We're going to leave those up for like another 5 minutes, and also you can get this really cool poster signed. That'll be up there, and we will also see you on the road at some conventions coming up. So, thanks again, everybody, and happy holidays.